Alright, just a disclaimer before I start this video. My thoughts and my opinions are my own. I cannot and do not claim to speak on behalf of the United States Marine Corps. Now, with that said, cat, get down. So this is an emergency, video, response to the riots, in DC. And I'm going to give you a conservative's response to those riots. Okay, you do not get to do this. You brace yourself like a man. We have to be mature. We can't play by the left's games here. You take your losses like a man. You have to be the better person. I know people say we need Republicans that are fighters and Republicans with a spine. That's true, but you do not have a right to rebel. You have a right, when necessary, for a revolution, but not a rebellion. There are different things. You do not get to fight just because you don't like the outcome. What we saw was the what the Constitution intended. We saw the Electoral College decide to vote and not give a damn how the people voted. That's what is supposed to happen. Whether or not the electors were legitimately elected, their vote is what matters. It's, as far as I know, over. Look, I'm not happy about it either. I am shipping out to boot camp on the 19th of this month. I have to serve under a President Biden, or a Democrat president at least, for the next 4 years. I'm not happy about it, but I have to take my orders from him, and I can't let my politics get in the way of that. So when is there a place for a revolution? That is for, namely, when they come after your guns. We have two examples in American history, two primary examples of a rebellion and a revolution. The American Revolution was the revolution. The Civil War was the rebellion. The Republican Party is not going to be the cause of a second Civil War. When the second Civil War happens, that will be the Democrats. We can't play by their games. Look, they may have won the battle, but they did not, and they will not win the war, because cheaters never win the war. You do not get to riot and rush the Capitol building. Look, we have an example of this from history, from the state of Texas in 1873. Richard Koch beat Edmund Davis, and Edmund Davis did not want to give up power, but you know what? At the end of the day, he did, and at the end of the day, there was not a riot. At the end of the day, there was a peaceful transfer of power, and you had two forces. They came armed, but they didn't fight. You do not get to attack a federal building because you don't like the way people vote. What are you going to accomplish by that? What we need to do, square our shoulders, make compromises if we need to. If you need it, a mature person is able to make compromises on issues they can make compromises on. There are issues you can't make compromises on, but there are issues you can. And if the Democrats take this opportunity to rig the electorate by changing voting ages and allowing illegals to vote and whatnot, you know what? Maybe we'll need to make a few compromises. Hopefully we won't, but maybe we will. And we're going to need to be mature about it. And maybe someday, hopefully someday, I believe someday, things will get better to where we can have, once again, a relatively right-leaning nation that will not need to make compromises. But you have to work with what you're dealt. You have to work with the hands you're dealt. You can't throw it back at the dealer and storm out of the building. When you do that, you forfeit. I'm going into gambling metaphors now, but when you do that, you forfeit everything. You forfeit all the money you've put down on the table already. We're not going to forfeit. We're going to persist. We're going to vote again in 2022. We're going to vote again in 2024, and we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. First of all, we need to make sure elections can't be stolen again. But you can't attack my country because you don't like what happened.